This conference will now be recorded.
I got 6 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think they would do that. Should be fine.
Adoption of the agenda. Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. I review the regular meeting minutes from April 4. I believe we got the current one on your.
Yeah, the corrected one should be in your, on your tablet, but otherwise.
Is on the tablet.
I'll make a motion to approve the April 4th meeting minutes as written.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Review the minutes from the North Zumbro Sanitary Sewer District. Just to review it, I don't think we have to vote on that. Everybody have time to look at those? Perfect. We'll jump to accounts payable. Kevin.
Right. I will draw your attention to check number 80132, Schumacher Excavating, the milling of 6 there for $145,340.60. We have a routine here with the number 80142 for the property insurance on the city equipment or city property. 80136 is the continuation of buying those water meters for the city at $12,735. And then also 80144 for $17,683 with the purchase of body cameras. And that includes the install and on-site training for the new system, as well as the in-car camera for the new squad on purchase. With that, I would make a motion to approve the accounts payable in a total of $359,034.39.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions for Kevin or Kim on accounts payable? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. We'll open the public comment portion. Individuals may address the city council about any item of concern. Speakers must state their name and limit their remarks to 3 minutes. Any public comments?
Yes. Hi, my name is Blair Warner. I live at 1155 West Avenue. I am here because of some city sewage line issues in connection with my home. And my understanding is that I'm not the only home that's experienced issues with sewage backup and things. So I am here today to bring up that issue and come up with a more thorough financial coverage of it for individuals affected by it, just because it's not completely covered, and it's an issue that arose when the West Avenue project was being done years ago.
Mike, do you want to speak on this per our conversation, or do you want me to speak on it, or both?
Well, I'll just give you a little background. 1994 was when the West Avenue project was done. And I don't know how many of them that we've done. But the last one that I could look up and come across was in 2009. And I think we've done one since I've been here within the last 10 years. I couldn't find that one. Blair did have a camera, and it's the same issue that the other ones had to get out to where the service line comes up from the main and where it goes to the house. It's a connection in that point that has failed, and that's where it's failed on all of them. And that's what the camera report showed when they did the camera.
So in the,
And the city has, it's $1,000 they put towards these service lines.
so I guess Blair is here to ask, in the past, we have paid $1,000 for the repair, and it has to do something with Mike, with the connection from our city to the house has failed. The last one we did was like Mike said, 09, maybe one earlier that he couldn't find record of, that we paid $1,000 to help with the repair. By talking to Mike, Blair's asking for $1,000, if not inflation, from 15 years ago to help repair that. Did I kind of cover that, Blair?
For the most part, yes. It's throughout the years that I've lived there, because I didn't know about the issue, I've incurred a fair amount of costs already, just because it's repeatedly failed. So, and more recently, at least in my case, financial situations have changed where I can't afford to repair the issue, or even put forward a fair amount of the cost. And just because it wouldn't have occurred if there wasn't the issue, requesting it. To be honest, I'm requesting full coverage of it. But however much would be possible would be appreciated.
Do you have an estimate on a price for repair, Mike, or Blair?
Yeah, I had one from Schumacher's, and I asked Blair that she would go out and get another estimate too. But I think that was around $3,000.
I think four, I thought it was four, but I could be wrong.
This is the connection from our line to her line.
Yeah, in the way it sounds, the contractor back in 94, when that part of West Avenue was done, Mike explained that the coupling they did is not.
So they brought that up from the beam, and then when they got up to the service line that goes to the house, they didn't put that connection together correctly. In fact, I think what they did was use the Fernco, and then they kind of just kicked the pipe down. So that connection with the Fernco has failed. And when they cambered it, like I said, they got out to that exact spot where it took off and went into the main, and that was exactly where the problem was at.
So has it collapsed now, Mike? Mike saw them, Mike and Larry were out there when they cambered it.
Yeah, I don't know if it was completely collapsed, but it's separated to a certain degree. That Fernco just didn't stay in place, and back then they didn't use much for Ferncos either, usually.
What they did is spec at the time for the project.
I guess, I don't know, I've heard some different things about that project. I heard that the inspection wasn't very good at the time, and it was, basically it was poor workmanship, and nobody was able to catch it at the time.
I think the first repair ask we got was in 2006. It was right about when I started, and that was the first repair. And I think I want to say there were two, and the council established at that time that monetary amount.
I think it'd be fair to revisit what the monetary amount would be, because that's a long time ago, and construction also doesn't consider those things.
Yeah, and like Mike and I talked today, I think right now we'll throw it get more information and bring it back to council and make it an item. I think with Blair, I'd like to at least see 2 bids. So we have those just because, I mean, obviously inflation has changed in the last 15 years. And then as council, we can have more discussion or have more knowledge of the topic and then make a decision from there. So, yeah, so if you can get another bid or bring us 2 at least, you can drop that at City Hall, and then I'll talk to Mike, and Mike will put some information together for us, and we'll make a decision. We'll put it on council here in the next council meeting or 2.
Perfect. Thank you so
Sounds
much
good.
for your time.
Thanks, Blair. Any more public comments? Bob?
Yeah, I'm Bob Hawley. I'm a resident of Zumbrota and an owner of a building on Main Street with the back facing the proposed Keller Bartman apartment. I just want to say, first of all, I understand that we need housing. I'm in that business and we need housing. And I admire what Keller Bartman has done around the county in Red Wing, Cannon Falls, and elsewhere with their buildings. As I studied it, the biggest problem for me is the parking. Most of the complexes that Keller Bartman has built, they have enough land to contain all the parking that they need on their own site. They have not utilized, that I can tell, much city property for parking. And in this case, I have some serious concerns. I think there's 31 units. I know there's some new information tonight that's provided, but I don't want to speculate on what people think is required for an apartment. But if you have 2 or 3 bedroom apartments, you better plan at least 1.5, in my opinion, cars per apartment on average. And that would mean we'd need about 56 parking spaces. As I can see on the east side of their proposed property, they'll have 19 spaces. Right now, we can probably park 16 to 18 in that space now. And there's many times it's full with business owners getting to work and apartment people above the existing buildings that have been there a long time, and it's become practice, and that's where we want them to park. I think only 10 of those spots on the backside are on Keller Bartman, which would be Keller Bartman property. The rest is city property. So, you know, in theory, there's only 9 spots, whereas there used to be maybe double that. And parking is a serious concern when you get downtown. People in our world like things to be convenient, and I realize having the apartment there is pretty convenient, but parking is not. We have businesses have a business in another town where parking is a problem for the retail, and it does affect retail very seriously. People like to park, like to get in, do their business and leave. They don't want to park 2-3 blocks away and walk down to do their shopping. So anyway, I see it as a huge problem as the way it's proposed right now. And I see it being a long-term issue because once it's built, there's not much you can do about it. So I guess that's my concern at this point.
Other public portion?
Kevin Kish, how many units is this? Oh, gosh, that's, okay, 38.
38.
And
And
can
I
you,
think it's 8 efficiencies and 9 efficiencies, and the rest are 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom.
do you have any idea what the, this one over here, or Grover property, how many have just one car, or at that, would you guess?
I can address that. My name's Bob Keller. I'm from Keller Bartman.
So since we've opened that building, what happens is the older people have taken all the big apartments. So they had one car. Now a lot of them have gotten rid of their car because they either have their groceries brought over, they go to get their hair done, do whatever. So we have people that got rid of their cars that were there, and we're finding that more and more. So with those 9 efficiencies, they generally are the younger people. They're either working or, something. They'll have a car. A lot of the bigger apartments in town here, those apartments, we had the 2 bedrooms were gone right away, and they were either people that sold their farm and wanted to move to town or sold their house. We don't have a lot of families over there, so we find out it's just single people who've lost a husband or a single couple. And then the majority of the other ones, they're either working, somewhere close to here, and they have one car. But what do we have for parking in the basement, Randy?
36.
Oh, 36, and we have 60 units?
16 outside,
Yeah, but in units.
57.
We have 57 total units.
Okay.
And then, so it actually's worked out really well over there. The downtown's really accessible. I mean, a lot of the people they'll comment, they say, it's the only place you can go to the library, the store, and get your hair done and go to lunch.
Right.
So it is changing. I do have statistics that pretty much show that with the cost of everything right now, people are downsizing in cars. They don't have as many cars as they used to, and the older people are using either both of them got rid of one, or they don't have a car at all. So we're finding that more and more.
Do you think this parking on east of the property, I mean, that's quite a steep grade. Do you think you can, the way it looks on here, it's almost like that ground is flat there.
You're talking in the road out there, or in
The backside,
on
the alleyway.
East side of that, the
Yeah,
alley side.
So Andy actually was just explaining that to me. That actually gets cleaned out and leveled more.
Okay.
And then there's a retaining wall, would be right by the, where that drive-through is,
The
right?
communications box.
Yeah, that communication box there, that's actually the cutoff right there. So then that would flatten that. And that would be public, that's all public
Right.
parking in there. But the way we got this alley designed, it kind of needs some updating because the way the water's running, and the water from our site would actually go into the ground leaders that would actually, take it underground. We wouldn't be flooding water across the parking lot like it is right now. So it kind of self-contains everything and makes it a better situation for parking, so.
You're saying that all those 19 are public parking when part of it's on your
No,
property?
there, no. It's just
Some
how
will
many,
be public, yeah.
how many are public. It's about half.
Yeah.
Our land is right here. We would bring these, all the way up to here to this meter box, but then this would be one straight line, but this would be pretty flat in here. So,
That's where I came up with the 9 back there versus probably 16 or 19 or 18
yes,
now.
we got 19 there, 13 out here, there's one over there, and 3 out front of the bank,
Right, but that is city property
which is right here.
all the way around, right? Except on the very east side of what you're.
Well, yeah, but this would be no different than a business. People have the right to park in front of their business or to use it for drop off.
Yeah.
Whatever, yeah.
But is it right to use it for your purposes, for the apartment complex?
But we do over there as well.
I know you do, but,
But it'd be no different. If I was a
It's-
grocery store,
right?
you would say, well, why are you parking there? Well, people get their groceries, and it's no different here.
No, it's just that we have some existing businesses and buildings that have relied on what we have, and some of that's gonna disappear.
It
It's
is,
gonna
you're
be
also
tight.
getting a taxable proproperty in the
I
future. Every
understand.
time we look at this, and the one thing we gotta look at, this is the first time the state has ever given out that we know of multifamily housing for money. So we're gonna be able to collect hopefully close to $3 million. That goes right into this building, and that becomes part of your tax base. We've never been able to do this, and without that, we can't build this. So if we don't get this,
That's on top of the 1.3 million in
Yes.
tax incremental financing.
yes, but that, we don't have to pay that back. That just comes into the building, we use it for construction, and you guys end up having a nice, $10 million building for tax base in the future here.
Believe me, I believe we need the apartments. I just don't know that I like that particular spot.
And that, we hear that everywhere. Everybody wants apartments, but nobody wants them where
Well,
we're gonna propose them. So we have to find the best place. And, you know, the bank wants to get rid of the bank, so that's why we purchased it. And I
It's
think
my understanding they still own it.
we have a purchase agreement in place, and as soon as the grant would go through, then the purchase agreement will go through. But like I said, you know, this stuff is kind of a little bit make-believe, because if we don't get the $3 million from the state, we won't be building the building. So, you know, it doesn't pay to get too excited. You know, we're hoping that we can push all this stuff through. And, you know, if anybody, I've heard people say, why are you pushing this and pushing this? The state was really late at getting all their stuff out to us. I mean, we should have had this stuff months and months ago.
Yeah.
Well, we have to have this in by the 24th of April, or the end of the month. We have to have everything done, every T crossed, every I dotted. And so it has been really a rush to try to do this.
No, I understand. They're running behind. They set up a lot. They're not ready for it. But,
Yeah.
But once the zoning is granted and once the ball starts rolling, it's hard to have these discussions because it's too late.
We don't really seem to have, I mean, we've had like when they were gonna get the thing to shut the road down over here, the guy from the tattoo shop, a couple different places, they came over and we haven't really had any parking problems. I mean, you know, like I said, you know, we do have the inside, and you said 38, we have in this building. So that takes the brunt out of, you know, the building. You know, 38 of those would have their own parking inside. So,
Now, they pay for that parking, correct?
yes,
So all 38 spots might not be taken if they elect not to pay the monthly fee. It's everybody.
but we're full.
You are, okay.
It's, what is it,
Mayor,
75?
do you want this to continue in the public comment section, or do you want to wait till you open the public hearing?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hearing on it?
Yep.
Any other questions? So I'm open. So
Okay.
As long as you're talking about the tax incentives, I hear it's a 26 before it's an incentive to the town's growth. From this property?
yes. Yeah, we never, that doesn't mean the school doesn't get their taxes.
The city doesn't though.
The city still gets the amount that's taxed on the.
That's 8,000 at the present time.
Yes,
That's
yes.
So it's 26 years before they receive any other tax benefits from that.
You'd receive exactly what you got for that building now, and then you'd still receive your school taxes every year.
Yep.
Yes,
But not the city.
right.
Also, the grant that the city has promised, how much is that?
We don't have a grant from the city. We have a TIF.
Well, is the city responsible for that?
No, it's a pay-as-you-go. We're responsible. We obtain the loan and we are responsible for it.
Okay, when you're talking about the parking, right now we can come down from the upper street, right down through the back alley by the bank. Is that alley still going to be open for coming down access from both ends?
Yes, the alley, actually, it'll be redone and it'll be finished
For
nice.
the access from both sides?
But the alley doesn't finish.
On First and on Third or Second? Yeah, okay.
Jake Ruth from Zumbrota as well, and like Mr. and Mrs. Holly, I have a business. I have a business on Main Street, and my main concerns, first of all, I'd like to thank the Planning and Zoning Committee. I was at their meeting and it was run very well, and a lot of good questions and comments came about during that meeting, and I want to thank the people that were on that committee. And I want to remind people that the committee voted this down for many reasons, parking being one, and the fact that they haven't talked to the county or done any due diligence. There's kind of a step in order that has to happen, and the first is a full concept plan, approval by the committee, approval by the planning and zoning, and then brought to the board. And I think we're rushing through this way too fast, and that's exactly what the planning and zoning committee said as well. This is going too fast, and I think a lot of things get pushed on too fast, so that you make a hasty decision in the fact that they need this grant, which I understand. But if they get this grant for this building to be placed anywhere, why are we putting a building where it doesn't fit when there can be a building put where it would fit and fit into the city? You know, we're going to have a building that's 1 story higher than any other building in Zumbrota. It's not going to fit in the landscaping. It's going to take the parking away from all the businesses and the tenants that have counted on this. So now they're going to park on the street and take away parking for essentially any other businesses or snow plowing to happen. And I think that's a major concern that the board should address. Also, I'm kind of concerned about the TIF money. I don't think that'd be any different than if someone else came and was going to build on an empty lot, a house, and say, well, that lot's only generating $300 in revenue a year, so I should only have to pay that for the next 26 years. This is a lot of money for the city, and I just don't see any pros to putting this building here for the city, but there's so many negatives. This building could fit so many other places in town that would fit and bring the housing that's needed to the community for community growth. But we're trying to put a building that doesn't fit on a lot instead of finding a lot that fits the building that they want. So that's my comment. And I thank you guys for all for serving in this. Thank you.
Carol Jackson. We've been here 40 years, and we have a restaurant, so we do need parking. We have quite a few employees every day too, and we need parking. And I don't think you want us on the side streets. And my other thought too is that a problem going out onto 3rd Street, which is County Road? All that traffic from the apartment, I mean, that's going to add up. And are semis fine to be able to get in there and out of there and not get hung up? Because we have semis, and I know the food shelf's down there, and then there's tons of cars everywhere, like once or twice a week, that too. And I mean, it's already very busy. And my other thought was, I don't know if Mike can answer that at all, but I know West Avenue was a problem years ago, and they said that the big pipes came into a small pipe. Is this one that's already there causing any of that backup that's happening on that street? That's solved?
She's talking about 6th Avenue or County 6.
West Avenue.
West Avenue has been all replaced.
It's all big pipes now?
Yeah.
Anybody else in public comment?
Gary, so I have one more comment. It's kind of a shame giving a business district for public housing. The future will show that we could have buildings, some businesses down there. Could be room for 3 businesses. You're lowering the amount of area for the business district, and I think that's a shame giving that up when you don't have to.
Public portion, and we'll start with new business. 8A, rezone of old Franzen Bank parcel for proposed apartment building.
Me?
Yeah, you want to go first?
Yeah. Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on April 9th to consider rezoning 2 parcels at the address of 73rd Street West, the old Franzen Bank lot. Keller Barton is looking to build a 4-story, 38-unit apartment building on the old Franzen Bank site. The parcels are currently zoned Commercial 1, and we would need to be rezoned to PUD-R. A residential zone would have setback problems. The rezone is contingent on the sale of the parcels to Keller Barton. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard comments from roughly 10 citizens in the attendance with the public hearing. A motion was made to deny the rezoning of the parcels. The commission voted 4-3-0 to deny rezoning the parcels. Reasons for the denial, obviously, were parking, losing a sitting lot, maintaining the retail character of downtown, storm sewer runoff issues, building so close to the culvert, which runs underneath the alley, and cars pulling out from the apartments onto 2nd Street.
I have a letter here from GQ. I think everybody in the council has that. Their engineers addressed these 5 things. I'll kind of touch up a little bit what GQ said. Number 1, construction of the apartment structure is proximity to the existing box culverts. Building is close. Proximity to the box culverts will require detailed cross sections at the closest points, but does not prohibit construction. Number 2, it was stormwater runoff related to the lot and surrounding properties. Runoff from the site is currently nearly 100% impervious surface, parking and roof. Redevelopment will have a similar impervious footprint and will even be better managed because it will be redone and regraded for that. Number 3 was required parking spaces. Parking requirements for new apartments have been evolving as renters are forgoing the cost of owning vehicles. This has reduced and required number of spaces in some city ordinance to as low as 1 space per unit. Residents of rural communities are accustomed to everyone owning their own vehicle. Our experience with new builds is that providing just 1 space per unit is minimum threshold with a slight increase in spaces provided for visitors and few tenants. Most city ordinance still require excessive parking spaces, which as to impervious surfaces is an insufficient use of land in core of a city. An example of an updated ordinance is the city of Rochester, which established minimum and maximum parking space requirements. The other one was parking configuration impact adjacent businesses and city lot. The reconfiguration of parking will increase the number of spaces along the public alley to offset the loss of the spaces which currently access from Franzen entrance. Number 5, traffic impacts created by an apartment building. The total trips per day entering and exiting the building will not be burdened or create congestion for traffic. And then pedestrian impacts created by apartment building. Residents of Zumbrota and apartment tenants will have direct pedestrian access to the sidewalk network encompassing the entire block. And that was from G-Cube. That was the engineering that was answering some of the questions or the concerns from the planning and zoning issues. Council have any questions or, I mean, I got plenty of information. I just don't know how much. And I think the public has some of the diagrams of the buildings on here. I know TIF was something. I know I had Kim write out what the city has done for TIF. I know that has been some of the questions that some of the public has come to me about is the TIF. We have given several different TIFs throughout the city and different businesses over the several years. Just to pick out a couple, I know Atlas Storages, we gave 3 different TIFs for that to establish that. The city did a TIF to help with the Highway 52 commercial because the city needed money for getting water and sewer. So the city did a TIF to improve our commercial lots on the Highway 52. We did a TIF for Keller Bartman current building, Midwest Livestock, we did a TIF. Super 8, the bank, the Armory apartments. So we've done a lot of TIFs over the years to help bring businesses in town and do it. So I get the TIF. I understand more of the TIF every day. And it's a complicated, but like you said, we still get that base of whatever the bank building is today. So we still get that tax base, just not the new building for the duration of the TIF. So council have any questions or?
I've got a question for Bob or Andy, either one. Why do you think this is a good site to build this apartment building?
I look at it as that we've already got a prototype across the road. So I know the people that live there. I know the people who want to live there. So I did an open house and all these couples came in. We got a list of 12 of them. And why didn't you make more 2-bedrooms? Why didn't you make more 3-bedrooms? They want to get rid of their house and they want to live in town. They've lived in Zumbrota their whole life. And we also had people that came here that went to school here and moved away. Now they're retired and they want to move back, but they don't want a house. And so what we're seeing is this is kind of a change for people to, the older generation is living longer. They want to kind of connect with their roots, and yet the older people that are either selling the farm or moving out of their house, they've already done that, they want to stay in Zumbrota. This is their town. And so I think that's probably one of the nicest things that I've seen is there's really quite a community here. Even just going over to the building, the people that live there, I mean, they have their puzzle nights and they have their card games and they have stuff. And they love living by the grocery store and living close to everything. And they're the ones that are in walking distance to use a lot of these businesses as well. So I have not heard a lot of negative things. I probably on the other end where we have people asking, why don't you build? That site is, it's available. The bank doesn't know what they're going to do with it because it's kind of, it's going to take a lot of money. It's not handicap accessible. It doesn't have an elevator. You start adding up everything that bank needs. It's not a building for today's use. And so they've made it work, and I think we're just in a place that we found that where this really, the city is really growing down here. I wish Red Wing had the business you guys have. I mean, you guys have really got some nice stores. You've got a lot of stuff. We have a hard time filling our stores downtown. They don't last long. They go out of business. I mean, and you think, oh, Red Wing, but no, everybody wants to be out or they want easy parking or whatever. But I think what we got here, you guys do really have something nice, and
So don't go.
people like to be by the park, and somebody told me one day, they go, yeah, it's the only place you go to the park, go to the library, get your hair done and go for lunch, I think that means a lot to people, so. But any other questions, like I said, I'm open. We do have a list of people that are looking for larger. And well, the other thing about that tip, people wonder why you do tip. That helps us keep the price up. Because if you're looking at the interest rates right now, and you're looking at what it costs to build and what the products actually cost, we can't afford to build here. So, it has been.
For years and years and years.
And all of our buildings in Red Wing and everything are the same. And you've toured our, the city council, a lot of people have toured the buildings. And the one thing they say is, oh, they're so nice, or well, we can build a better building. We can build a building that's really insulated and have underground parking. You see a lot of small towns, they build apartments, but everybody parks outside. It costs millions of dollars to put in these inside parking. They have to be solid concrete. They have to have a concrete roof. There's just a lot of things, but what it also does is it gets the cars off the street, and it does make it, it doesn't look like a big parking lot over there by the building, so. But like I said, I'm open for questions. And the tip is a little hard to understand, but once you understand, the city's not on the hook for anything. We take care of the tip, we take care of the loans, we take care of everything. What we're doing is just, letting you guys recoup your taxes that you would have got if the bank was there. And the city, and like I said, the school still gets their portion, which I'm not sure what the portion is, but it's, it's your regular school tax. That doesn't change. So what you don't get is the new building isn't at full tax yet. So once we get to that point, then down the road, you guys will get full taxes on both those buildings.
I have a question for you. You say that we've got a great downtown and we're building it. You're taking our downtown away.
We've actually added
Not, no, we got less parking.
well, according to, we've got 19 spots on that back side.
Are you referring to, we're taking your parking downtown?
Yeah, in the alley, in the back there.
Our people they should have the right to park there. That doesn't mean they're going to park there. We have 38 stalls inside.
Yeah.
We also have parking out.
But you're taking our downtown.
But did I take the downtown when we built the other building? My people are parked
You're
all over the street.
Yeah, I mean, you're already taking that and now you're taking more.
It was an empty lot.
Yeah, and like up at Christ Lutheran, that's not very far either. That's almost downtown. That's not a bad spot either. What's wrong with that one?
I haven't been offered that lot.
Have you looked into it?
This is a good location.
This
is the location we chose.
Huh?
Yeah.
I know, but that's a good location too. It's
Maybe
just-
for the future, maybe that might be something.
Hopefully, I mean, the reason we're doing this right now is because it's close to everything. These people want to be able to walk, just like yours.
Is your other one staying full?
All our buildings are full.
Is that this one in Zumbrota full?
Oh, yeah.
Always? I mean,
Well, the 2 bedrooms never are empty. We don't have any
Okay, how about-
empty. They're always full. And the other ones, our people just moved to Cannon Falls because they were here until the Cannon Falls because they work in Cannon. So.
because I've heard a lot of people are in and out and in and out.
No, what I'm saying is we built the building there, but there was no place in Cannon Falls for people to live, so they lived here. Now they just moved, so now we have some movements.
So the apartments are usually, you know, some are long-term, some are short-term.
You put these all downtown?
We're pretty much,
Cannon Falls isn't.
well, that is, you know what, they pretty much bought that too, and that's about as far out as you can go. But I'm telling you, it's churned up. We're 78% full in 4 weeks.
Okay, we'll intervene on that one, Ken, okay. Any more questions?
I do have a question.
You say there's 38 parking units?
In the base.
34.
Oh, no, it's 33.
It's on the diagram.
It's on the diagram.
Okay, I come up with 32, but I'm trying to count it right. My question goes back to parking. If you've got 38 units, and roughly, from what I understand from your one engineer, you're going to go about 1.5 per unit for a 2-bedroom unit.
No, we said it's one per unit, the 2 bedrooms, so that extra 5% on those extra ones, so it's not a full 1.5.
No, it's a 1.5 on 29 units, correct?
Right.
So 29, so 29, okay. I come up with 52 and a half parking spaces is what you need. And you've got only 32 down or outside. You're gonna be roughly leaving about 14 and a half existing spots for public parking, because you are gonna have to designate those for your residents. I question all that. I also question the fact that the city's gonna have to rezone that and change the parking ordinance on that, or to allow you to have only so many, because right now I believe it's set at 2, if I understand. It's 2 spaces per unit. Am I correct in that? So we would, as a council, have to change that and have a variance on that as well.
So if you're familiar with Park Place in Red Wing, we have 120 units or so. We have a 1.2 ratio there. And most cities are, like the engineer said, they're re-engineering those closer to 1, maybe 1.5. So the parking is generally going down on every bill. They're just fighting. They don't want to spend that much money on it. They don't need empty space. We don't have any parking problems. We have close to 900 some apartments, and we don't have a parking issue in any of them.
Okay.
How many of those parking spots are on your own property? Most of them?
So in Red Wing, we have most of them, but like where you get, anytime we're in a city, you don't really have a choice. And they have the right to park just like your renters do or anybody else.
No, I
It's a
understand.
city- It's a city space.
Yep.
You know.
Any more questions? Bob or Andy?
Concerns, ideas?
I do have concerns too, that it's, like someone said,
It's a little rushed. I'd like to know if possibility of a grant next year before things, and I don't know,
We're gonna lose out on this if we don't get this. I mean, you can't even get a grant writer right now. People are scrambling for this, so we'll see. If we get it, we get it. If not, the project won't go forward. So.
Can I ask, is the grant specific to property, or can it be used in other properties if something comes up?
It'll be gone after our
No,
stuff goes up
but
on the 30th. We can't use it anywhere else. See, all
It would
this
be
stuff.
for this.
So this is what's really crazy. The city
On the
or the
site.
state is making us do all that. We could just kind of say, oh, it's wishy-washy and say, hey, you guys, this is what we want to do here. We're going to get $3 million. It doesn't work that way. They make us follow this entire list, and we get a point for everything we got done. And we're looking really good. Our points are high, and the site looks good. And I think we got a really good chance to get the grant. So, but.
And part of the reason it was rushed.
Was the state was late getting the money out.
Right. No, I
So
get
when
it.
they came out, they still kept the same deadline. And Andy and Bob are like, we got to move this along a little bit quicker than maybe normal. I mean, so it's.
It didn't give us much.
But I don't think that it's a reason to rush, because the housing shortage isn't gonna stop. So these grants are gonna continue to come in, to continue to need more and more housing. And if if you rush this through to satisfy Caleb Barton instead of thinking what's in the best interest of the city, I think in hindsight, you're gonna regret it.
How often does this grant happen, Bob and
It's
Andy?
never happened before, and from what we understand, there's only so much money in the grant. And I think we got a really good chance of getting it. It's just the smaller towns, we gotta score right. And Andy does a lot of work trying to make this stuff work, and part of it's the paperwork side, which I know Sarah's used to, kind of this kind of stuff. She asked me, how big was your pile and paperwork? And I said, well, everything's online now. So
When I did it, it was in a binder like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about, talking about retail space, and I'm thinking about, before Keller Barkman came with this apartment building, there was a plan to put a retail space there in that lot where the other apartment building is. And it wasn't feasible to build. And so that's why it never happened, because it wasn't feasible with today's construction costs with different things. And then I'm thinking about, I used to own the building on the corner there, and it was very hard to find anybody to rent it. So when we're talking about, and I know we don't have a whole lot of turnover in this town, which is great, but there are retail spaces available. To me, it just doesn't seem like, how many years would this sit like this without getting anything done to it?
I mean, it's the same thing with the Gover lot. How long did that sit?
Right,
And
and no one could build it, and no one could do anything.
and we saw plans on that to build a commercial, and they just couldn't make it feasible to work.
Right. So I think the same thing is gonna happen here. And to me, we need housing. We need housing to be close by. I know all the older people that are moving in here just think it's grand, The parking is a concern. It's always a concern downtown. But that to me isn't enough to say no to this project, to me. Because I think they've addressed all the other ones.
They've addressed some of the issues. I don't quite agree with them all, with the way they're addressed. It's very open-ended, to be honest.
How so?
Parking's one. I still disagree with the numbers and how that all plays through on parking. Construction costs, they talk about the culvert, that they may have to do special engineering on that, which is a possibility. What's that going to do to their overall cost? How much is that going to raise it? Is that going to make the project feasible? I don't know. If everything is on such a tight timeline with your grant, with your TIF, what's extra expenditures going to do to your construction costs? They've got to have that figured in. And I just don't know where that's at. The whole project seems a little rushed.
We have a project that we just are finishing up in St. Michael's. That's 27 acres in the downtown of St. Michael's. And we're talking millions of dollars worth of culverts, millions of dollars worth of ponds. And this is one of the smallest buildings we've ever done. What we've done is we've utilized the state money, we've utilized the grant, and then we utilized the money that Andy and I put into these projects. We make these projects happen. The reason these things never got built around here is because you have to write checks. That building, Andy and I wrote a ton of checks. Maybe they weren't all things figured in, because it's sometimes kind of hard, but everything gets done and everything gets paid for, and we're really good at that. So, it's not like you're going to be sitting here with a half project that's not finished. We will make sure that project gets done. It'll be beautiful. It'll be an addition to the city. And you don't have to worry about us not figuring stuff in because we wrote a lot of painful checks.
I think if I had a concern, it would be parking, but it might be outweighed by the benefit of the opportunity to have the apartment complex. But definitely parking tends to be an issue everywhere.
I would say that I'm encouraged by the TIF usage because it actually empowers the developer to do something in a community that can't otherwise be done. And in the long term, if we think about the immediate needs of the city, they are more housing, more development like that. The long-term goals of the city are then to factor in a tax base from which to provide further resources for that increase of capacity of people. So factor those two things in together, the TIF is a fantastic tool to see that realized. Without that, we stagnate the growth of the city and it doesn't actually develop the way we would like it to.
That's what you want to do?
I'll make the motion to rezone the old Franzen Bank parcels for the proposed apartment building to the PUD?
I think it needs to be contingent on you acquiring title, right?
Yes, that is it's in the middle here. I'm not seeing it, but I did see it. Contingent on the sale of the parcel to Keller and Bartman. There you go.
That cover everything, Matt?
I'll second it.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-1-0. Thanks, everybody, for your concerns and your work on this project. We'll jump down to 8B, Resolution 2024-12, resolution receiving preliminary report and calling a public hearing for the 2024 East 9th Street improvements. Bill?
Thank you, Mayor. So in your packet, you have a report and a resolution. So I'm just going to give an overview of that. So this is a little different than what we traditionally do for a project. And the difference is that this project will be an assessment project. So by doing an assessment, we have to do multiple additional steps. So with that, we have to have a formal engineering report that details certain things, primarily what would be assessed, existing conditions, proposed conditions, what the assessment amounts would be. So tonight you are beginning that process. So if you pass the resolution, then you're setting a public hearing. So as part of the assessment process, when the city initiates a project, you have to have a public hearing. You have to get input from the public. We call that the thumbs up or thumbs down meeting, meaning should the city do this project? So that's what you will be doing on your May 16th meeting if you approve the resolution. You'll be getting input and then you'll decide to move forward. What that means by moving forward, it means that you're moving towards bidding a project. So we have a timeline that lays that out. So that's why a little bit more of the convoluted. So back to the project itself, this project is kind of the convergence of 3 different projects we've talked about probably over the last 5 years. So it first started when Mr. Wobig came to the city. to develop the property around the water tower. We looked at building 9th Street then. We looked at installing sewer and water. Ultimately, water main was put in 9th Street, but the road was not paved. Mr. Woolbig did not put a full development forward, and ultimately it changed hands as a different person involved. So we started out looking at 9th Street then. The second part of this is then we had the Christ Lutheran Church building to the east. So it was, how do we provide access to them or better access? How do we handle what I call the hairpin turn there underneath the power lines? That's been kind of a challenge for the city for many years. So and then it's okay. So then the second thing is, how do we provide access to the church? How do we get rid of the hairpin turn? The third item was, we've had a long-standing complaints from the neighborhood of the Dorothea Anthony Court neighborhood about they have a gravel road adjacent to their development. So there's been a goal of the city to pave that road for some time. When that was put in back in the early 2000s, that was not part of the project. And as Matt, our city attorney, tells me, you can't go back and second guess decisions, because the decision was made back then to not pave the road. The council weighed that at the time. I'm sure there were good reasons, but it's been sitting for 20 years not paved. And then lastly, in order to get rid of that hairpin turn, we would have to buy some land, some property from the Champas. So since we've approached them and talked to them, actually it was originally the Bergs, and their daughter is Tammy Champa. They have said they would like to develop this now. So that's different than when we started. So what we're proposing as part of this is that they would actually have 6 lots that would abut this new area. So as part of that, we need to buy land from the Champas to make the road, eliminate the hairpin turn. What Brian has worked out preliminarily, because we have several moving parts. We have a development, we have an assessment process, we have land acquisition, but preliminarily there would be a trade of, they would not be assessed for the streets. They would convey property to the city to build the road, but they would be assessed for sewer and water to develop their lots. They would have to do their own development plan at the same time. So big picture, that's what we're trying to accomplish here. That is, pave 9th Street, eliminate the hairpin turn, and now include development where they would be paying for the sewer and water. And then the Champas are going to have to do some things on their own. They're going to have a preliminary plat, a grading plan, the normal development items. So we're trying to merge all these things together. So with that long-winded overview, the report itself then details the existing conditions. So what we look at is sewer, water, storm sewer, permitting, et cetera, and then proposed conditions. So Jefferson, we would propose to continue like the existing Jefferson. So basically where we left off at Dubuque, we would continue that same width. We'd continue with a bike path, and we'd run that right up to 9th Street, basically to the power lines. And then 9th Street, we would make the same width. Now, one of the things we've discussed is what is the appropriate width. We've had discussion with Mike and Brian, what should the width be? We haven't designed anything, so that's still to be determined. But at this point in the report, we have it equal to the same width as Jefferson, but we could modify that. And then with the assessments, so the city policy is that when you build something for the first time, so if you don't have a paved road, you don't have a curb and gutter, the property owners pay for that. Okay, so like when we reconstruct a road, it was already put in, we don't assess. New items we do, so you don't assess very often. So much so that the properties on the north side are all what we call side yards. They don't abut on there. We don't actually recall where you've assessed side yards, at least in our history here. So the policy we have, we're not aware that it's been used. So the policy is that you'd assess 75% of the side yards. In our discussions with Brian and city staff, that is atypical for the area. So one of the things we are proposing is that we would assess it at the more traditional 50% for the side yards. So again, that is also in the mix here. So at the end of the day, what we're asking you to do is to pass a resolution that approves this report, and it sets in motion the public hearing process. So again, in May, then at the council meeting, we will have a presentation very similar to this. We'll go over all the numbers in more detail, and then the public will be able to give their opinions. And that's just an opinion, proceed, don't proceed. And that's where you will actually then decide to move forward or not. But tonight you're starting that. So I'll pause there because there's a lot of information in here too that you may or may not want me to get into. So I'll pause, Mayor, and see if there's any questions.
Council, have any questions for Bill on this topic?
You talked about the assessment to Champas that would be not voided, but eliminated.
Correct.
From the streets. What is that figure?
Roughly it was 88,000 roughly. And I might be off a little bit, like off 1,000 or 2, Bob, but
okay.
Yes.
And that's for the swap of the land that we're
That's-
taking or using for that.
That's correct. It was well, we drew it up an even number, so we drew up as 2 acres. 2, correct.
My other question I had is just looking at this drawing, you've got a road that stubs off that connects to the one gravel road that goes up behind all this, then also continues on out to Tom Henderson's.
Correct.
Is that pull through, is that connection street wide enough for Tom's farm equipment to come through there to go back on the street to get out 460th?
So I think I know where you're talking, and I believe the answer, if we're talking the same spot, is yes.
Okay.
So, and how we look at that as turning radiuses. The other comment would be, ideally, he wouldn't drive down Jefferson, but if he's going back out to the church, you mean, or?
Yes, because that's where a lot of his property is.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a back way to get to his property without going out 460th. I guess that would be just my question or just concern, is make sure that that is large enough for him to do that.
Yep.
Without.
Cause our problem. Yeah, so I think the answer would be, thank you for your comment. We'll make sure we address this if we move forward, or we'll make sure it's included. So yes, thank you.
And that would be a 10-ton road from where we're at Dubuque all the way to 460th, correct?
Jefferson would be correct. Yep. And then 9th Street would be a traditional city road. Yep.
Which is normally what, a 5-ton?
Yeah, they end up being really more like a 7-ton, but yes.
But we're not considering finishing off a section of 9th right now, is that correct?
That's correct. And, right. And the main reason is because we want concurrence from property owners, and the property owner on the north side does not want this to proceed at this time.
Which Brian and I have had many talks about it, because I get a lot of questions in heat about 9th Street still being gravel. And I think Bill has brought it up, is there something we can do to maybe just do a quick overlay of blacktop that's maybe just 4 or 5 years, 10 years use out of it, because there's residents, and Bev probably can speak of that with the dust, that they can't have their windows open in the summertime. So I do travel that road enough a week because of my daughter's friends up there. So I get that. So that's something that we'll have to address at some point. So we just need a motion to approve us going forward and setting the public hearing for this endeavor. Any further discussions? All in favor? I just was gonna say, I need a roll call. Sarah?
Aye.
Bob? Aye. Joan? Kevin? And I passes 5-0-0. Do we need a motion to set the public hearing, or is that included in that?
It's all included.
Okay, I didn't know we had to set another one.
The whole package.
That's for May 16th at 6:05.
Correct. It's your regular scheduled meeting.
Perfect. Let's jump. Thanks, Bill. 8C, mill and 6 pay requests. Bill.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, I gotta scroll to it. This is our first pay request for mill and 6. So this one's pretty straightforward. So I think Kevin covered this, and he mentioned the accounts payable, but this is pay request number 1 for the amount of $145,340.60. to Schumacher Excavating. Really, they're just beginning the project. This is, if you guys have been by there, so they've moved all the pavement and they're starting the underground work. So off to a good start. We had a few hiccups with, getting the school traffic and, Mike and his staff and the police department. I think we got that under control. So recommendation is to approve pay request number 1.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 500. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Mayor.
Let's jump to 8D, pool condition discussion. Mike? Hi. Perfect. Thanks for stopping.
All right, so just so you can all see me, I'm Ann Thompson, for those of you who don't know me. Okay, I'm Ann Thompson, for those of you who don't know me. I do manage the pool here in town during the summer. I'm a teacher during the school year. The pool condition has deteriorated as it's been over 50 years since it's been redone. We've done lots of patchwork. I can't speak too much to the little of that Mike is aware of. But we've done lots of things over the course of the last 3 years that I've been there. And every year there's been new things that's needed to be updated. I do know and I'm aware of that the safety guy that works with us has gone out and looked at the pool with Mike, as well as an insurance. Is that the right way to say it? Okay, insurance. And they have had concerns about various things at the building. A lot of them actually are in the bathhouse. So the bathrooms, we have one working urinal and one working toilet. And like the men's area, there's backed up pipes everywhere. Last year they had to jetter out one of the pipes, and then there was sewage water everywhere coming out and into the floor. And so there's just a concern of how long, we want to move forward with potentially voting in a new pool and building a new pool, which would be phenomenal. There's just lots of discussion about how can we feasibly open this pool this year and have it be safe. I believe, maybe Kim can help me with this. I believe the recommendation from safety and insurance was to not open it. I, as the pool manager, unfortunately agree with that. I, of course, want the pool to stay open. I think it's a great job for kiddos in the summer. I work at the school. I see the benefit of that. I see the need for swimming lessons and the way that the kids use it as an activity during the summer. And I think it's such a great asset to our community. However, as also somebody who holds the CPO license, along with Mike, on the backside of that, if we or you guys decide to continue to keep it open this summer against the recommendation recommendation of insurance and safety, then I would be nervous, as I'm the one who holds that CPO license, that something could come back and it could be on me. Or on Mike, because we went against what they've said. I think Mike has similar concerns. I don't want to speak too much for him, but we've had discussions back and forth, and he's very concerned about the safety piece of it too. There's talk of deterioration of pipes because they've seen sand come out, but it's underneath buildings or it's underneath concrete, so we can't get to that pipe. And not knowing what that looks like, how's that going to affect how the pool's running? Is it going to drop chemicals quickly? Is it going to change suction of something? Is there going to be sewage that comes out and somebody gets an infection and gets really sick? Those are things that we are concerned about. Like I said, of course, I would like it to run. However, I'm concerned about the backside of what if something happens and we went against recommendation from insurance and safety. So I guess we're here to ask if we should open, not open, what you guys think, what your input is. I don't know what the right way to go about that is. I just wanted to come and give my thoughts and opinions.
I think we are. I think we have to, right? Right? I think we have to.
Just the way it's written, it just says discussion, like we're just going to
Oh,
talk
no.
about it. So.
And I just said that I would come, so I don't know what the right thing is.
Yeah, my side it does.
I think basically, like, from my point of view, also like hiring guards, setting up lessons. Usually I've done that all. I've already put out an application. I have applications in, but I have not told anybody, yes, you 100% have a job. Yes, we're opening. And I do not want to set up lessons and take money from families here in the community and then say, oh, just kidding, the pool doesn't run, or just kidding, we're going to close it. So I really am waiting till tonight to decide what way I go. But I have a major concern of if we do move forward with opening it, how that falls back on me or Mike. And he has the same concern.
One of my questions, what does CPO stand
Certified pool operator, sorry.
for? I guess the first that I've heard of our insurance company not agreeing that we should open. I have not heard that or seen a report on that.
They did an inspection, I believe
It
Brian
didn't,
has it.
I have a copy of it.
Okay, I don't need a copy. I have not heard or seen that.
Say yes or no.
They didn't say
Todd.
you shouldn't, but the safety report said, we suggest not opening or recommend not opening. And then they concurred with all the same issues that the safety company found and said that these are concerns. They didn't say on the insurance report, like, yes, you should open, no, you shouldn't, but they had all the same concerns. So I'm just nervous on the backside, of that as well.
I mean, a pool is 50 years old. I think it was 2 years, 3 years, I think before Joan and Kevin was on, that we stuck $100,000 on that pool just to keep the sides from not falling in because there was so much sand in the pool.
And that was supposed to last 2 years. And
Because
it gets,
that's what.
and I think we're at like 3 to 4
It
passes.
lasted past that, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an issue. I also heard we had some more collapse tubings, pipings in there. I heard that we're down to one bathroom in the pool house.
The drains don't really work, so there's standing water at times. And we squeegee it the best we can. We tried to plunge it out. It's just not something that we, from the surface, guards and myself have control over. And the pipes underneath are what the issue is. It's not something that can be fixed from the top.
I mean, and I read the park board's recommendations, and I kind of agree with Troy Ness saying it'd be nice if we could open it for one last time and saying, this is it. But I also am concerned about the safety issues or the cost for us to keep it up and running and for our patrons that use it.
Sorry, here's my question. It just has to do with what he said. The money that we have set aside for the pool this year, can we use that towards the new pool?
I'm not 100% sure what the legalities of that would be, so I cannot speak to that. I'd have to go with the league. I mean, if we will get it's already done for Tuesday. Yeah. I'm not sure. I know that we could earmark it. But I would have to check with the proper way to do it with the league before I would be comfortable saying it, because we will get the money, so.
I would just think, saying we already have this money designated for it, and if we're not gonna.
And there is a balance in the pool fund. The pools run really well. I mean, there's probably but maybe after this year, close to $200,000 in the pool fund, which is wonderful. But if we do have to discontinue the pool, we are going to have to demolish the pool because we can't leave that structure up without being taken care of. So there will be a cost involved there. We will discuss that as we go further, and we'll find out the best way to go with the funds. But
I mean, I don't know. I kind of like Troy's Ness's thing. Hey, I'd like to open it. We can if it costs us a little bit, but what's the safety issue of our?
That's my concern is we've got two people, one insurance person, another safety inspector, say that their recommendation is not to, and we go against that. Could that open up for liability?
To be honest, I would be very concerned and would need to figure out from somebody else. I'd have outside probably counsel tell me what I'd be responsible for or what could come back on me as somebody who holds a CPO license. And I would be very concerned about that piece of it because I love this and I love doing this. It's so much fun for me and it's a great way to balance summer and school. But really in like my life, it's a small piece of the pie for me and I really can't have. I'm just concerned about something happening and then it coming back on me and the liability piece of it, because I can't have that be what tanks everything else. You know what I mean? So I'm really concerned about that. And plus just the safety of kids. And lifeguards, you put lifeguards in positions, to deal with situations sometimes if there is, the deck there. One part of the issues was the decking and that it's not level. And so then there's slippery spots or there's standing water or there's those kinds of things. There's just other issues that arise from that. And that changes also the job description of those guys, so I get what you're saying and I want it to open. And I of course would love to have a pool consistently every year, but I'm very concerned about the safety piece of it and for the guards and the patrons as well. So, and how that falls back on the CPO.
Maybe to go back to the Brett Decker, Sarah, I think Sarah and I were the only one on council. This is a 2-year, 3-year fix, and we've already got 3 years, so
And
we're
we were
already
hoping that we would
get 5 or
have the
6.
plans for the new pool. I mean, that it would already kind of fall into place, so we were gonna try to limp it along until we could get the new
For
pool.
those of you who maybe don't know that, along with that, the new pool had originally been looked at quite a while ago, and then COVID happened, and then Jefferson project happened. So there's kind of, it was looked at, and then it was kind of pushed as a priority for a while, which I understand, but that was kind of a piece of the puzzle too, just so you know why it's taken a while to get to this point.
Possibly this summertime, you could head up the fundraising for the new pool, right?
I love that kind of stuff.
Perfect. I hate dumping a lot of money in something when it's could be a safety issue for our patrons and our workers, and not knowing what the future's gonna bring in that standpoint.
Through the whole budget at it, we wouldn't adequately assess or address these 6 major issues. If there was only 3 issues, possibly could figure something out, but.
50 years old. I mean,
Right. To adequately address it, to demolish it in a couple of years if we're building another one, just doesn't make any sense.
Because I assume if we decide not to open it, we're not opening it again until we have a new one. And I assume we'll have to use some of that money to demolish it and get it safety for our residents or patrons, where they're not vandalizing it, squatting, however you want to do it. So that is some expense that we would have.
Such a double-edged sword for me, and it makes me sad to come in and say that that's kind of where I'm sitting at with it, because I really do want it to stay open. I know I was a kid here in town that biked to it every single day in the summer, so I get the value of it, but I think the safety just has to be paramount in my opinion. Sorry, I'll be done.
I would make a motion not to open the pool this year.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0 to keep the pool
Will you
closed.
come and give Hudson lessons in Jill's pool? I'll ask him, because he needs some more.
Perfect. Reports. Mr. Matt.
No report.
Chief?
Just reporting, just got back from the Chiefs Conference. Sergeant Pasquale attended with me this year. This was his first year to attend that. And he certainly, as I do, want to express our gratitude for sending us. It was definitely eye-opening, as it always is. They do a fine job bringing in top-notch speakers from all over the country, if not world. And next year, it's going to be in Rochester. So my hope is that I might be able to get somebody that might have interest on Administrators Day to come and hear what's being discussed at a greater level. So it may be more staff, because it's very valuable. And we're in different times, and that was certainly the biggest hurdle that we're all facing with staffing levels, and the growth rate isn't there. So, and it showed actually, the attendance. There's a lot of people that weren't there, because you'd often have line staff and supervisory staff, not just chiefs. And there's very few of those in comparison. So at work. So, but it was a good opportunity. So that is all.
Thanks, Chief. Bill, you have anything else?
Nothing additional. Thank you.
Perfect. James?
Mayor, I'd just like to note that in the presentation earlier by Kelly Bartman, you mentioned the library several times as a popular destination for new residents coming into Zumbrota. So I would ask that you consider putting several millions of dollars back into the library. Upgrade the
Auditors are in next week. I've already talked to Kevin. My guess is he will contact some of you to interview. So I'll give him your email or phone, or I will call you.
I just want to thank council, dealing with the Keller Bartman. I know it's been a tough decision, and I know we've all been bombarded with different issues and topics on that. So just thanks for the work on that. Sarah? Bob? Joan? Kevin?
Nothing.
Meeting adjourned.
So